The alphabet itself is where the issue starts. Despite the fact that the two languages do not exactly share the same set of sounds, creating an English spelling system using Latin letters is like to creating a playroom using an IKEA office set. Sometimes sounds simply shift randomly. The great vowel shift in English was the most notable example of this.
The practice of evaluating the viability of a new service or product through a study done directly with potential consumers is known as market research, often known as marketing research. Market research enables a business to identify the target market and obtain customer comments and other input on their interest in the good or service.
An increase in the atmosphere's average temperature is referred to as global warming. This pattern started around the middle of the 20th century, and scientists and government leaders throughout the world are quite concerned about it. Most of the temperature increases are the consequence of the atmosphere's rising gaseous gas concentration.
Night shift employees are the second category that is particularly vulnerable. People who have sleep problems, notably sleep apnea, is the third category that is most vulnerable. Sleep apnea affects 1 in 3 males and 1 in every 6 women. Despite this, 85% of cases go undetected and untreated. Additionally, the danger of accidents is more than doubled.
The predators really liked hiking pathways, even if the majority of species didn't avoid them. But without a doubt, there was some influence of human activity on animals. In hunted regions, photographs of heavily hunted animals, including white-tailed deer, gray squirrels, and raccoons, were taken less often. Despite that, coyotes appeared more often in hunting zones.
The term akimbo, which must be among the language's more peculiar-looking words and confounds us in part because it doesn't appear to have any relatives. Additionally, it is now essentially a fossil term that was nearly always associated with arms until recently. Akimbo, a standing position that conveys irritability, antagonism, or disdain, is one in which the hands are placed on the hips.
When the solar system was reduced from 9 to 8 planets by the International Astronomical Union, Pluto lost its official status. Pluto's exclusion was received with cheers from the crowd, despite the fact that there had been spirited discussion at the General Assembly meeting in Prague regarding the definition of a planet and whether Pluto fit the requirements.
According to the university's financial plan, money is distributed to each state account at the start of each fiscal year. Each account receives a certain amount of money based on the expense item. Before starting transactions to use the money, account managers must make sure that there are enough funds in the right account.
The biggest terrestrial creature still alive is the elephant. Its skeleton, which has undergone significant development from that of the typical mammal, was created for two major purposes. One must contend with the enormous weight of the big head, which is made even more so by the enormous, grinding cheek teeth and lengthened tusk. The other is to support such a massive body's immense weight.
The sphere implements the doing more with less principle by enclosing the maximum volume of internal space with the least amount of surface area, hence conserving resources and money. The doubling of the sphere's diameter, according to the researcher, will result in a quadrupling of its surface area and an increase in the volume by 8 times. Children's transportation generates additional traffic, which increases congestion, pollution, and the chance of accidents. Increased degrees of danger for the remaining pedestrians results from more parents driving their kids to more locations as our roads grow more hazardous. These reasons don't need to be persuaded by anyone who has witnessed the reduced peak hour traffic during the gridlock around schools.
Personal time management may also be improved by attitude changes. For instance, the idea of proaction is far superior to that of response. Proacting is the ability to foresee outcomes and be prepared to act appropriately when the time is right. Reacting, on the other hand, entails having minimal anticipation and acting only when circumstances need it.
Health professionals and government representatives from all over the world have been extremely concerned about the resurgence of malaria in recent years, particularly in certain regions of sub-Saharan Africa, with several victories in eliminating malaria from huge regions over the preceding decades. The global health community was previously sure that the disease had been brought under control.
The more closely we examine Australian prehistory, the more our preconceptions are challenged. Up until recently, the accepted theory was that there were probably between 250,000 people living in Australia at the time that European settlers arrived there in 1788. But even this has been called into question following the discovery, 2 years ago, of a sizable Aboriginal cemetery at Lake Victoria.
By the beginning of 1980, fears that salmonella would affect the poultry industry were gone, but few producers were willing to take the risk of investing again due to issues at least in smaller markets like Australia and New Zealand. These nations don't produce duck eggs on a large scale for marketing. Small producers and increasingly frequently, home duck keepers have consequently been left to handle it.